Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks, as always, for making your way here and checking out the series. You know what to do. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. One of my favorite artists on the show again today, Britt Daniels of Spoon. Hello.
Hey, Kyle. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's great to see you again behind such a great new record, Lucifer on the Sofa. I want to tell you, this is the kind of record that I feel like 10 years from now, it's going to make me nostalgic to want to travel back to now. Like, that kind of record.
Well, that's high praise. Thank you.
That is definitely. The first thing I noticed about it, almost in a surprising sort of way, is how triumphant a lot of these songs seem. Like, I'm not hearing that a lot from a lot of artists right now, but that quality comes. Does it feel like that to you? Is that meant to be there?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. And we did want to make a record that that felt good to put on, that felt good, blasting out your radio. Maybe that's part of what you're hearing. And I don't know, a song like Wild, I don't think we've ever written a song that's felt quite that degree of, epic, almost like a, Bruce level epicness.
I was just by chance, because of the other interviews I was doing, I was listening to a lot of Primal Scream at the same time, and that song specifically, there was some sort of crossover quality with maybe where both artists were coming from, to make that. I wouldn't usually put you all together, but that time it did.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah. So with that said, I guess the easy question is, who did y'all want to be when you went into this record? Because it's a guitar record first and foremost. I mean, it really does feel like that, as opposed to where we come from on Hot Thoughts and a few of the ones before that. Like, what did you want to do with this one?
When we wanted to make a great rock and roll record, I just looked out there and I thought, there's just not enough of those being made. And we had, we toured more on Hot Thoughts than we had on any record before, which for us is kind of saying something. And we just got in a good flow where, we really worked on the show. The band really was playing great together. We were actually playing the songs off of Hot Thoughts better than they were on the record. And we just thought, let's keep with this kind of vibe, And so that meant making a record that sounded like, or that was a band playing in a room, and what happens when that sort of natural process happens and people are playing off each other and that kind of chemistry. I think that's what you're hearing.
Yeah. When you get in a moment like that, and I know most of the time it's all about going forward, but, talking about the way Hot Thoughts kind of, you found those moments throughout the tour, do you ever consider on any of your songs doing the thing that some artists do and going back and doing the re-recording?
Like a live record, or you mean like re-recording the songs in the studio?
Yeah, maybe something like that. It's if you get comfortable with them later,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think they'd call that bonus content. I used to kind of hate live records.
Mm-hmm.
I think because the ones I was exposed to as a kid were just terrible, but there are good live records I've figured out since then, where it's a different version of the song. There's an energy that's palpable on the recording. It can be done well, so maybe we should do that one of these days.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Well, on this one, I want to hit. So you get the first couple tracks, and I'm in love. But you get the Devil and Mr. Jones, and I think an involuntary noise came out of me, like a good involuntary noise, like a gasp, like those chords. I didn't expect that.
Oh, thanks.
Where did that song come from? Because especially in this set, it's got its own unique thing going on.
That one, it started with my friend Andrew Cashin sending me a voice note where it's just him whistling on top of an acoustic guitar. And I kind of turned that quickly into like a demo that was very based on that. And then it kind of morphed. But yeah, it became, his version was a little bit more straight ahead rock. And then I kind of got into playing it in this sort of soul fashion, like with a little bit more swing to the rhythm guitar. And that's where that one came from. And at the same time, as I was working on he gave me the melody and the chords, and at the same time, I had this piece of paper with these words I'd already kind of written, almost word for word, about Mr. Jones, and it just kind of came together really fast, that one.
So you're a student of rock and roll. That name, Mr. Jones, has lent himself to so many classic songs in the past. Like, what? So why was it for you? Is this the embodiment of maybe that same character that we've heard from the past 50 years?
Yeah, I'm super aware of the legacy of songs about Mr. Jones, and I don't know. I thought about it for half a second, and then I decided, I do like the idea of contributing to the canon of that work, of those kinds of songs. I've heard so many of them, and I don't think I've heard one that I didn't like yet.
Right.
So yeah, I was aware of it, but Mr. Jones never really seems to be a good guy, does he? And the guy in my song definitely is a bad man.
Yeah, I would have to think through that. I mean, even in the Counting Crows song, it's not like he's a horrible guy, but at the same time, he's there's illusions going on.
Yeah, I don't really know what that one's about. I guess I've heard it a million times, but I don't know what the lyrics are about.
Yeah, but I see what you're saying on that too.
Like Bob Dylan's Mr. Jones is a confused individual.
Al Green, yeah. That's like I said, it's one of my favorite moments of this one, and they're the other. You get to the track On the Radio, and that's, of course, I'm going to pay attention to that one. It's right. Catnip right there. It's also, I mean, it's almost surprising in itself, because in 2022, radio's still a dominant thing, but you don't have as many love letters written to it from a musician's point of view, I think, as you used to. Is like, I know you're based down in Austin again these days, or you're down in Austin, at least for the record, but is it local radio or something you had on your mind?
It was growing up in Temple, Texas, and listening to the radio and being really young, and the radio feeling like a lifeline to the outside world, and feeling at times, lonely or trapped in my house or in my room, because that's what being a kid is about. A lot of time you're bored, and you're waiting for when you can play with your friends again or whatever, and but when I got that little clock radio, it made me feel like I could hear evidence that the world was still happening out there, somewhere outside of my house, the world was still happening. And that was really comforting to hear, comforting to know. And then also just to have the DJ talking, and it felt like the DJ was talking to me. That's what the lyrics are about. Talking to me all night on the radio.
Yeah. Did you do the recording off the radio? Did you make your own radio mixtapes?
I did later on. Yeah.
There's a lyric in the record where you bring up the reference of records and cassettes. And is this with what you're talking about as well? What's that?
Old school.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Is this a moment on this record where you found yourself maybe taking that look back a little bit more?
Yeah, it was that lyric is kind of I don't know, it's sort of there to paint the picture of what it's like during a breakup. And, the guy's saying, what am I going to do with, just these things that are still left here that are reminding me of you, the box of cigarettes, all these old records, all those cassettes, all these letters. It was just, maybe it is indicative of my age that I'm still thinking about cassettes, but or maybe it just rhymed really well.
I've got a whole wall of cassettes just on the other side of the screen right now. So you're speaking my love language, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
Cool.
That's all. As far as the bad guys goes, as we were talking about Mr. Jones, Lucifer himself, whatever, does make the appearance, but also maybe the opposite of that, because you have Astral Jacket and that goes into Satellite. And so we've got this ethereal angelic thing happening at the same time. What's the religious context, if any, or is it just the use of the names?
Well, different things going on in each song. I mean, for Lucifer on the Sofa, the Lucifer on the Sofa is me at my worst. It's the me that I can become, the character I can become when times of anxiety or stress. And the song is about kind of trying to get over the hump, get over that character, they come back to normal, the real me. But for some reason, maybe because of the way I was raised, that seemed like a good way of exemplifying that character. And it also just seemed creepy, you know. It took me a second to figure out what it meant. But I love that line, Lucifer on the Sofa, and that's really why the record's called Lucifer on the Sofa. I mean, every album needs a great title, and that seemed like one to me.
Yeah, it's always been, I find, a really interesting writing tool. If you want to call it religious context or anything like that, but just that imagery, like
right.
I don't know, it's easy to conjure those pictures anyway.
Yeah.
There's you did I'll round out with this too. You talked about the songs written, but like most records, there were songs that just didn't fit the album. Do you have enough that do those ever, do you let those see the light of day? Is there an EP in you after this?
We did. There were some songs we finished from the record that didn't make the record, and that will come out. There were some songs we finished that I don't ever want to hear again, and there were a lot of songs that I wrote and got really far with, but just ended up, you know, maybe I'll come back to them. But I counted it up, and I think it was something like 42 songs that we worked on in some degree or another, and then honed that down to these 10. You know, it's bound to be a good record when you've got that many songs to choose from.
Yeah. Well, if this record's this good, I'm really interested to hear the ones that didn't make it. And I've always appreciated that about you. I mean, I think you're still a champion of things like the EP, of the B-side, you know, of stuff like that. So, you know, what you got in there. I mean, I was listening to Soft Effects, speaking of EPs, because it's the 25th anniversary this year of that one. And she's still, what a great little record that is. You know,
I really like that one too.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things we've put out, and it's only 5 songs. Not the best known thing we've done, but it's a really good one.
Yeah, it's great stuff on it. Well, man,
it came right after my least favorite record we put out. You know, there was something was happening there where we were figuring out what we were doing.
It's the transition piece, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. And again, I say the same thing about Lucifer on the Sofa. I know I've already complimented you, probably over complimented you. I love this record, man. Congrats and thanks for doing what you do.
I'm glad you're liking it.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to talk about it. It's always good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, man.
Take care.
Take care. We'll see you around.
All right. See you.
Bye.